Hey gang, Ronin here. Welcome on back to the Retrocade and another edition of Suckerpunch Sunday, where we hit the Wayback Machine and check out classic fighting or fighting platform-based games from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generation. And for this week, we're going to go back to 1995, and we're going to play a game based on a movie that I've actually never seen. That's not to say I don't know the character, I don't know the story, and I don't know the world, but it's one of those movies in the mid-90s that just did not get my interest enough to go see it. Although subsequent variations of the character and the story are definitely ones that I have tuned in for. We are going to play Judge Dredd. This, of course, based on the 1995 Sylvester Stallone vehicle. It was released on the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, the Game Boy, the Game Gear, as well as DOS and Windows. It came out June 16th, 1995. And is a 12-level run-and-gun fighting game. So the first thing you get into is you are established with what your missions are for, or your objectives are for each mission, I should say. And if you don't know the story of Judge Dredd, it's set in the 22nd century. Police officers have become judge, jury, and executioner all in one, and of the law enforcement officials of the day, Judge Dredd is the most notorious and also the most legendary. So a couple things as we're going through this. If you're wondering why we didn't have a Sports Saturday this week, it's because last week we did not do a Suckerpunch Sunday. Things outside my life here in the Retrocade got a little hectic with work and whatnot. So I was able to do a Sports Saturday, but not a Suckerpunch Sunday. And so to balance them back out, we're doing a Suckerpunch Sunday today. We did not do a Sports Saturday yesterday. So how this game works is pretty simple. You have your shooting your weapon is your X button. To arrest potential suspects, you use the Y button. Your B button is your melee attack, and you can do more than just a sidekick. And then your A button is jump. And as you see, it is a 2D platform game. You press down to be able to squat, and you have to be careful when you do it, because if you press down and you hold down, you will shoot down as opposed to shooting out. Now, because the Super Nintendo, of which I'm playing this version on, has shoulder buttons, it was the first time you were able to cycle through weapons. So if you look up top, you see the badge in the middle means the number of lives you have, so you have 3. The rotating icons in the middle are the different weapons that you have. So in this case, I have 3 grenades, I have infinite standard ammo, and then I have 5 specialty ammo, and I'm not entirely sure which that one is for, or what it represents. And then you have your score, and then the green bar beneath all that is your life gauge. So the first thing we need to do is we need to blow up those cylinders that are over there. So we took him out. So blow up that one. Blow up that one, and we get more grenades. So now we have 4 grenades. So now we have to be careful here because there's gas, so you can jump up and hang and scroll over this way. Although I think, if I remember right, there should have been, but there aren't. So now we get more canisters down here, and you got to be careful here because you can get blown up if you're too close to where the grenades go off. Alright, so that's C1 box there. allowed us to pick up some goodies. And you have to be careful of those because you can move them around, but they're critical to help you solve puzzles as well. Ooh, we don't have any more grenades. So now you can come up here and there's this terminal that's right here. And there's a couple of them throughout each level. And basically what they will do is they will provide you a status update on what you're doing for each mission. So, for example, if I come here, we had, I believe, 16 ammunition cylinders, or 18. We've already blown up 7. And then we have to arrest or sentence all perps. We've done that for 3 out of 12 of them, and our health is currently at 60%. So, not that you couldn't see all that stuff up top, but for some reason they threw that in to provide you a little bit of a spec report. Alright, so now we want to drop down here, get these grenades, matriculate our way back over this way. And I will tell you that the controls are a little wonky in this, just because you're having to move around with the D-pad. There, blow all them up. And we can pick up more grenades. Alright, so now we can come down this way. Ooh, that wasn't good because I inadvertently used my grenades. Ah! I don't want to do that. Crap! I used all my grenades to blow them up. That's not what I wanted to do. Alright, let me get back down. Well, that may be a problem, because if I don't have any more grenades, then I can't blow up the rest of the ammo dumps. Kick that door down. Now you have to be careful here. Because you got to move this box over. Be able to jump up. And now we get some more grenades. But more importantly, we can come down here. And we get a full life boost. We got an extra player. Ow. Now we can come back up and blow up these ammo stacks. We have 6 grenades now. And now we'll work our way back down. And like I said, I've never actually watched the Sylvester Stallone version of Judge Dredd. I've watched the 2012 version with Karl Urban in it, and I thought that was a really good movie. For what it is, I thought it captured what Dredd is a lot better. Alright, so we've got notification. Our primary objective is complete. Ow. And our secondary objective is complete. So with that, we can go in here and we get our notification of how we did. And now we move on to the next level. So as a whole, this game was not really well received when it was released. Electronic Gaming Monthly gave the Super NES version a 7.625 out of 10. Genesis gave it a 6 2/3 out of 10, and the Game Boy a 5 2/3 out of 10, which that you're ranking everything on something other than a 1/2 or a whole scale means I think they were a little bit over the top when they came up with the ranking system back in the day. Next Generation Magazine gave the Genesis version 3 out of 5 and the Super NES version 2 out of 5. And the predominant reviews were that they said the game's bosses were overly difficult. They approved the large levels and the selections of weapons. And one reviewer marked that what Judge Dredd lacks in originality, it makes up for in playability. They said that the Genesis's graphics were inferior to the Super NES version, which, again, given the different titles I reviewed in these series, the Genesis was designed to be a bit more graphics intent than the Super Nintendo was. Alright, arrest him. Alright, so come up here. See if I can actually, whoop. There we go. Get a full life top off. Arrest him. Come down this way. Ooh, we have a lot of stuff that needs blowing up. But unfortunately, I don't have any more grenades. So I will have to bear that in mind as I pick up more. So we'll go down this way. Aha! Pick up our grenades. Come back up this way. Go back around this way. Alright, make sure I switch off of them. Really quick, I gotta make sure is there... Ah, there is a way to go down. Get the life. Because of all this rain chatter that you're seeing on screen, it is hard to differentiate between places where you can climb down and places where you can run into a wall. Alright, arrest him. Alright, I don't know what's falling out of there. Oh, it's just throwing garbage out of there. And it appears I have to be careful of the falling garbage as it can hurt me and my person. Alright, so I don't need to worry about checking the terminal. Now it looks like I've hit a door. So we've blown up 13 out of 16. Arrest or sentence all perps. 5 out of 7. Alright, so we're doing well. Ow. Okay. But we gotta be able to get through that door. How we get through that door, I have no idea. Alright, so the ricochet bullets, I don't want to be able to hit myself with. Oh, and there's more grenades up top. So, question is, can I get back up there to go get them? I don't think I can. Or no, they're right here. Okay. Swap them over. And we hit our primary objective. I have one grenade left, and I'm willing to bet that I need it to be able to get through this. Oh, there we go. No, all I had to do was just get through the door. Ow. So we've hit our first boss. Ow. So it looks like I just have to fire away on him and hope for the best. And now he's getting really spicy because he's slinging stuff at me. And there, I think we took him out. So get our life back. Pick up some extras here. And we got our secondary objective, and now we can leave. But in a lot of games, or in a lot of ways, I should say, this game reminds me of earlier Nintendo games and Sega games like Strider, where if you don't know how to find your way through each map and identify what needs to be taken out, it's really easy to get stuck. And if you get stuck, your only option is to go back and reset the game, which is really frustrating. So now we have to go through, and there's been a riot at Aspen Penal Colony. Prisoners are escaping. Therefore, your primary objective is to seal the escape route. Close all security doors to prevent further escapes. Secondary objective will be to arrest or sentence all perps still in the vicinity. That is all. Alright, so pick up some ricochet bullets. Mining the vent. And the garbage dump. That there isn't a lot of way to avoid the guys with the shotguns and whatnot is pretty annoying. And I hate to put it in these terms, but it's not inaccurate. Back in the day when Akklaim was still making video games, and they did not last a whole lot longer after this, their reputation was such that if you wanted to have a good game, you went with somebody other than Akklaim. Akklaim was like LJN in that they made video games, and they made a lot of them. But that doesn't necessarily mean they made good games. And I can imagine how frustrating this had to have been in the 90s when this game first came out and you didn't have game facts. You didn't have a lot of stuff that we can have nowadays that allow us to not necessarily take advantage of games, but provide a more in-depth explanation of where you need to go, what you need to do, how to identify certain things that just weren't available back in the 90s and in the proto-internet era. Like, I'm not using a game fact for this, but I can definitely see where, if you're not familiar with the controls or you don't know how to really navigate your way around, having it would come in really handy. Okay, then I'm shooting that guy and it's taken me that much time to put him down. That's a little iffy. So let's see for this one if this is where I need to... Mission status, ammo status, dread status. Okay. So that's not going to help me in this respect because I thought it would be one where I could use it to shut down the security terminals. Well, we've gone through our 3 guys, and you have been judged guilty. The sentence is game over, Judge. And now we have to start all over. So that, in a nutshell, guys, is Judge Dredd from 1995 for the Super Nintendo. Again, you can also try it on the Sega Genesis, the Game Boy, the Game Gear, as well as DOS and Windows. Now we get to our big 3 questions. Is it a good game? If I'm honest, not really. I mean, yeah, the graphics aren't bad. The gameplay is interesting, but being a side-scrolling platform run-and-gun game, the enemies do seem a little bit overpowered. That your run-of-the-mill guys with the shotguns and even your bargain basement guys are able to lay into Dredd, and that my weaponry does not have the punch to put them down in a reasonable amount of time. I could see where that would be considered very, very frustrating. And it's not too indifferent to what I saw in games like The Death and Return of Superman, where if you make Dredd, I would say 5, maybe 10% stronger in terms of damage defense, and make the enemies maybe 5 to 10% weaker, then it changes the whole complexity of the game. I'm not saying you have to completely nerf it and make it super simple, but it can be, those little tweaks can make all the difference. Now, is this a game they could make today? If they did, they wouldn't make it this way. It would definitely be a first-person shooter, and given how much of a cult favorite the 2012 Karl Urban version of Dredd is, by comparison to the over-the-top, very, very family-friendly comic stylings of the 95 Dredd movie upon which this is based, you could be a lot grittier about it. I think you could make a really, really interesting Dredd game now that, again, would be a first-person shooter, and that would give you a lot more opportunities and a lot more things to do creative and interesting stuff with it. That's not to say you couldn't do it as a side-scroller. I think you could, but I would imagine the design of it would be drastically different, whereas in keeping with the modern interests and stylings of what most gamers are going for, an FPS seems the most logical. So, is this a game I recommend you should try? I mean, if you want to. If you like Judge Dredd, maybe, but I don't think you're going to get anything spectacular out of it. Again, it's a side-scroller from the mid-90s, based on a movie that was not really well received. Again, I've never watched the original Judge Dredd, because by the time the 90s came around, Sylvester Stallone was well past his prime as an action star, and he was really just getting put in situations and in films that just did not suit him. And I remember seeing the trailer for this and thinking, this is definitely one of those. And the reason why they put him in is because, really, they cast him because of his jaw. Because you put the helmet on Dredd and you figure, okay, well, that's what he looks like. But then you put that against the Karl Urban version and you go, oh no, that's Dredd. The Karl Urban version of Dredd, I think, is just far, far superior to it. So, but on the whole, I mean, if you want to give it a try, go for it. I'm playing this on the SNES emulator, which again is a free emulator, and trying to find the ROM of it isn't hard to do. So yeah, definitely give it a try if you want, and then let me know what you think. So in the meantime, we will be trying to get back into the swing of things in the next couple of days with our usual content. I am in the process of getting my next playthrough sorted out. We are, it's one of those where, because of how labor intensive they are, I tend to take a little bit more time doing prep work on those. So just keep an eye and ear out for updates on the page, and we'll provide that to you. You can also check us out on social media on Instagram and Threads. At Ronin's Retrocade. We provide information up there every chance we get. Also, be sure to vote on our poll question on the community page. Do you want to see me, Ronin, a 40-something-year-old, first-generation, lifelong gamer, finally take the dive into the Soulsborne universe and take on Dark Souls Remastered? It's a game I've talked about a lot. It's a game that I have seen other gamers play, but it's one I've never tried. Is it a retro game? No, but it has enough retro elements to it that I think it might be interesting. And also, because we're now rapidly approaching 200 episodes on this channel, I figured I'd like to do something a little bit different just to, to commemorate that lofty plateau. So it's real simple. Just vote yes or no. It's on the community page. And as we get a little bit closer to 200, we'll take your feedback into account and decide what we want to do with it. And as always, if there's a game you'd like to see us feature from the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super Nintendo, the Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive, SNK, Neo-Geo, Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, or PlayStation 2, leave it in the comments below or drop me a line on Instagram and Threads. Can be any game from those consoles that you want. And my name is Ronin. It's been great to spend this Sucker Punch Sunday with you. Be safe, be well, happy gaming, and we will talk to you again soon. Bye.